I look back, I think I took a lot more risk than I didn't think I took any risks at the time. But looking back, it's really about betting on yourself, finding somebody that believes in you. And fortunately, I've had a lot of mentors in this world that have taken a chance on me and given me an opportunity.
Good morning. Welcome to Beta Tested. This is a space for women in leadership who aren't striving for perfection because we know that's not where the growth happens. We're here for the messy middle, the moments where you're building, leading, and stretching in real time without all the answers. Because the truth is, the most meaningful progress doesn't come from getting it right the first time. It comes from showing up, testing, and learning anyway. So let's get into it. Today, our first episode, I'm so excited to have you, Katy Friday. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy you're here. We've been friends for 13 years now.
A long time. A very
long time. And I'll never forget the day I met you. But the reason I wanted you to be the first person on Beta Tested is because, and I could get emotional, but I feel like I've watched you blossom over the course of the last up to 15 years. And there's a lot of strength in the way you approach your professional and personal life. And I am always inspired by you.
You're too kind. You've always been my biggest supporter, Stacy.
Well, it's true. So I'm not going to talk the whole time, but I just want to tell you why you're here and what Beta Tested means to me.
Yeah?
Okay, so I have the theory and the experience that a lot of women think and aim for perfection. And I know that
as a recovering perfectionist, I would say I agree.
Good. That's perfect. Okay. And if we can illuminate the fact that women like you in leadership in high, powerful roles where people sit and only dream of being one day aren't, with all due respect, actually perfect, maybe they'll have the courage to ask for what comes next without thinking they have to check every single box first.
Yeah, I would say it took me years to get to a place where I was comfortable with it doesn't have to be perfect. And that just because my way is different from how somebody else does it doesn't mean it's wrong. But getting there took a lot of work.
Okay, so let's go to the beginning. How did you enter this crazy industry to begin with?
Do we want to go back to the very beginning?
Yeah, I do. I think people would be surprised to know when I met you, you were climbing confidently, but potentially with still questions in your head, but you didn't show it externally. How did you do that?
In some ways, I look back at my younger self and I was so fearless. And I think that got away from me. And it's something that I've constantly been trying to get back to. And when I say fearless, if we're going back to the very beginning, 2007, I graduated college. I was a criminal justice degree.
You were?
Thought I was going to do the law. Yeah, thought I was going to do the law school bit. And did some courtroom time in my senior year and thought I could never do this day in and day out. And so after I moved home for a summer, finished an internship, and they offered me a job and I turned it down. My dad thought I was crazy.
That's wild.
But so I told my parents I was trying to get a job in Chicago. Nobody would hire me. I'd take the train up for 3.5-hour train ride, back-to-back interviews, and take the train home that day. Then I told my parents I could never get a job because I didn't have a Chicago address, and that's why nobody would hire me. And so I moved to Chicago in 2007 without a job, and I went on every interview that would take me. And lo and behold, a company called Draft FCB hired me to be the administrative assistant for Harold Dawson, who was the head of media for Coors at the time. He's over at Publicis still today. So yeah, that was my start into that. So I quickly got into that, but I was not cut out to be doing that. I think I booked the first hotel I booked him. You literally drove to the hotel door, and he was like, "We can't be booking things like that."
Why?
So
Super fancy?
it was literally like I booked. I didn't know anything about hotels. And I was fresh out of college. I thought you drove. Everybody went to hotels that you drove your car up to.
Wait, that's
So-
hilarious. So you were supporting him, and then how did you transition to media?
So I had a conversation with him, and there was a lot of young people that had started at the time, and they were all in media planning. And so I said, "Hey, like I'm happy to do this to start, but I definitely, if there's ever an opening in media planning, I would love to jump into that." So when Miller and Coors merged, the team grew a lot bigger. I became a field media coordinator, working on the local business. And that was really how I transitioned into the media side, the media planning side, at the agency. So worked on local media, had a lot of fun, met a lot of dear friends who are still my friends today, but it was great. And I was there for almost 5 years. And that was when the digital boom was happening. And I thought, I gotta learn. That was all traditional media that I was doing. And I thought, you know what? I gotta learn digital. Everybody's getting into this. And so I went over to Mindshare to work on Kimberly-Clark. And that's really where I think that's where we actually had our
I
first
was going to
meeting when
say,
you
I
were calling
think
on me.
hold on you. I don't know if you wrote me back, but I for sure tried.
All those, it wasn't intentional. I didn't know. I must have gone into my junk inbox. But it was there when Mindshare was building out their trading desk, and we were moving a lot. I was working on U by K, which was a lot of like gaming was going there, and so we were moving a lot of that to.
Wait, I just want to pause for a second. You went from administrative assistant into media, into digital, and every time you initiated the move because you saw ahead. And that's something worth calling out. How did you get the courage to ask for what was next? Was that because you had the confidence, or did you fake it till you made it?
I think a little bit was ignorance is bliss. And like, I can do that. For sure I could do that. Like, this is the thing that I'm seeing move a lot on media plans. I need to get involved. And so when I look back, I think I took a lot more risk than I didn't think I took any risks at the time. But looking back, it's really about betting on yourself, finding somebody that believes in you. And fortunately, I've had a lot of mentors in this world that have taken a chance on me and given me an opportunity. And it's something that I'm also passionate about, like giving back to that and finding how do you help people that are in that part of their journey too.
But I just want to give you credit for putting yourself in a position, because nobody's going to bet on someone that doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So just know that. Okay. So gaming, and then what happened?
So they were moving a lot to gaming, and we worked with a company called Wild Tangent. And I thought I should probably learn the sales side of this business. That's one that I don't know yet. So I, back in 2012, went to a company called Wild Tangent, and that's when Mindshare was launching their trading desk. My timing was a little off on what I previously said. But when I got there, Wild Tangent worked very closely with Kimberly-Clark throughout the years that I was there. And when I went over to Wild Tangent, that's when they started cutting a lot of that budget that they deemed as innovation and moved it into the trading desk. So this was probably a blessing in disguise at the time, couldn't sell anything to Kimberly-Clark. And I was like, I'm getting crushed by programmatic in this trading desk.
This thing called programmatic.
But how do I get involved? And lo and behold, one of my former Mindshare coworkers, Ashley Makarowski, had just gotten hired by the trade desk. I sent her a Facebook message and said, hey, can you intro me? She connected us together there, and that's how I got introduced to the trade desk at the time, which was really probably less than 75 employees at that time.
Unbelievable. And you catapulted from what you entered as what? A seller,
I was a senior account executive.
a senior account executive, and you made your way to senior vice president and really made both a name for yourself, but an impact in Chicago and for the whole company from everyone's point of view. But there's no way it wasn't challenging. And then I want to talk about where you are now. But in that journey, whether it's Trade Desk, Wild Tangent, Mindshare, or FCB, can you help us understand how you minimize the voices of doubt? Because at some point they had to creep in, because I know firsthand programmatic is, and it was complex, and you didn't know everything.
I, I think there's so much to learn. But putting in the time to do that and almost becoming a student was something that I really prioritize. But I also have to say that my boss at the time, who was Stacy, for
You're so
those
good
that don't
looking.
know, I can remember I kept coming back from I would have trips I would go and I would come back and I'd be like, I got this is happening. There's so much momentum here. This is what we talked about. And you at the time said, you come back with all this stuff, but it's not actually translating into anything. And
wow.
Yes. And so you're like, you're too nice. You're too nice in like this because you have all this momentum, you have the meetings, but
because everyone likes you.
And that's when I built this will probably bring you back. I built my whole attack plan that time on getting mean in 2015. So, yeah. And that was really like I would say like the pivot that I needed of like, how do you build partnerships with clients? Yeah, you can go in and have productive conversations, but how are we building together? And that really laid the foundation for how I needed to think about partnership differently.
Wow. That takes me so back. That is unbelievable, because the thing is, from what I remember, like, our job is to be likable and build trust and be stewards of our business and understand how to consult in this complex ecosystem. And you were doing all that. And the difference maybe was just the people who had the confidence to be like, so what comes next? And then like a switch went off. You were like, that's right. And all of a sudden your business went from whatever it was, which was still huge, to ginormous.
But this is probably at that time the perfectionist in me that was like, I'm disappointing Stacy. I have to make a change. And so it was something that I really took to heart and still take to heart today, in how I operate and how I think about partnership and how I lead my team.
That's quite humbling. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So you definitely never got mean, just for the record. You were just more direct. Now, I've never seen you be mean ever. But I hate to, maybe I'm asking you the same question again, but have you ever been mean to yourself?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm the hardest on myself. Almost like to the point where I would spend hours prepping for things for fear of failing. And this is like, now it's like something like looking back, like I didn't know at the time, but it was like the fear of not delivering. And that really was, it can be consuming. And so I would have meetings and I would just prepare hours for. And then, when life happens and now I have 2 kids and you have to learn how to pivot and you can't do that. And I can't give all the time, but that doesn't mean I show up any less. You just have more confidence of, I know what I'm doing. And when I was young, I did have that lens yet.
For me, Katy, there's been a correlation between my success and my confidence. I'm wondering if you could explore that concept at all. If there's any tricks, tips, anything, if you do agree that confidence yields you greater success because all of a sudden those voices go away, What can our audience do to start to minimize those voices that sometimes seem so loud and deafening?
This is one where there's probably a lot we could get into, but I would say, like, for me, when people would give me a compliment, I would have that, really? You think that about me? And so use that as leverage for yourself. When people tell you a good job, it's because they actually mean it and you're doing great. And I think it took me a while to get there. I looked at myself as, I'm a nobody. I'm just coming here to do good work, and that's all I wanted to do. And so when that started to pivot, I almost think that's when like more doubt instilled for a moment of like, these people are now looking at me to lead them and guide
Expectations
them.
are even
Now I really have to step it up and like figure out how I reinvent myself. And then once you can understand, like, you don't have to reinvent yourself. The things that you've been doing along the way are exactly why you're there. And I think once I understood that, it became easy. I don't want to know if easier is the right word, but you believe in yourself more and you see that people believe in you, and that kind of helps get you over the hump of, the fear of, what if they're disappointed in me or they're not what I expected? Which, trust me, all of those feelings have come out, especially as we hired really senior talent from other companies and people that have been in the industry longer than I was. And I think that's like probably something you taught me, Stacy, is a sign of a great leader is when you can hire people that are better at
That's why I
things than
hired
you are.
you.
And you figure out ways to motivate them. And it becomes this really great dynamic and a partnership where one has one strength and another has another strength.
That's a really great answer. And I'm trying not to be a former manager when I say this, but the reason you were so successful in my mind, the reason you still are today is because of exactly who Katy Friday is. And if you or I or the person listening tries to be someone or imitate someone else that we think is great, it's not going to maximize your potential because it's not your potential, it's someone else's. And it doesn't mean we can't take great things from other people as inspiration, but I think the closer we get to our own self as an asset, the further we'll go. Okay. Switching gear. You lead revenue for StackAdapt now, which is amazing. Congratulations. And you lead the Midwest. My question is, that is and this isn't necessarily at StackAdapt, but in general, there's a ton of men in leadership, to their credit. But it does make it challenging sometimes as the only woman in the room or the only woman on the panel or whatever. How do you streamline your voice or show up so that you stay authentic as others take a different approach?
That's where, and to the point that we just made before here, that's where I think authenticity, like being true to who I am and not feeling that I have to change, has been one of my greatest superpowers. I think in this is not letting that intimidate me and having a voice that probably looks at things a little differently. I think that's where it's like, I've always been like, whenever we take these personality tests, I'm always the one sales leader that's like in my own box. I'm always
Really?
in my own box. Every time I've taken one, it happened when we were together. It's happened here. I'm always in my own box. And I think part of that is you could bring a different voice. And I used to let that intimidate me of like, oh, if most sellers are fit in this mold, do I need to do that? And once I realized that I didn't, and that it was probably more advantageous that I stay true to who I am, that's when I realized, or probably like the biggest unlock happened of, I don't have to change who I am to be successful in this. I can stay true to my values, which people that know me know. I'm very transparent in that to people. And I would say that's been like the biggest unlock for me is not letting that environment intimidate me and still being able to voice my opinion exactly how I believe it, not changing who I am to fit in.
It's not always, for me, it's not always natural. Sometimes I have to talk to myself and be like, you got this, just be yourself, because it's easy to doubt yourself in a room full of people that seem to all have the same approach, whether it's gender, background, whatever. In any context, it's hard to be unique, but it's also, to your point, the greatest asset you could bring because A, it makes you stand out, but B, it makes you more confident when you're actually in touch with who you are. And along this journey that we've been talking about, you became an amazing mother of 2 beautiful children. And it's been such a pleasure watching you evolve in that part of life too. I just have to say, you inspire me constantly because I think you're really good at staying true to what matters to you and making sure that you show up when it matters to you. Can you tell us about how you figure out your day to day? Because whether it's preschool or kindergarten or wherever the 2 kids are today, because I'm forgetting right now, there's school calls and birthday calls and, by the way, work trips call. So how do you sort that out?
Yeah, it's not easy. But one of the things that I instilled was I just have certain things that are non-negotiables. And my kids' birthdays are one of those. If there's things at school, I will block my calendar for a chunk. And can I make every single thing? No, but I will prioritize, or I'll go through with my kids and say, there's 3 holiday parties that are happening. Valentine's Day, like Halloween, what do you want me to come to? And I pick one. And so they know that mom's coming to this one. And we talk about how other parents get opportunities to come to others. And so I kind of bring them into the process of what I'm going to be at and what I'm not going to be at. And that's been really helpful. But I think anybody that knows me knows that my kids, they come first. And I say that as somebody that also works really hard. And so, there's definitely those moments at night where we do dinner, we play outside, and then I have stuff I'm still catching up on. And there'll definitely be the comments of, you got your computer out again? And they're a little bit of daggers to your heart, but it's also a good time to show them why mom works and use that as a inspiration for them to set them up for success. It is definitely a balance, but what I find is you have to be the one that goes and creates those boundaries up front. And that's where, for me, even when I started here, I'm my kids' birthdays, I take off. I had, what did I have I had muffins with mom. I think my second week that I started my new job, I'm hey, I have muffins with mom from 9 to 10, but go back and won't be here for this hour.
But that's important that you're in an organization that supports that.
Yeah. And I would say since I've had kids, both organizations that I've been at have been super supportive in allowing me to lead in that way and also setting an example that I think is healthy to how we support working moms, working parents. It's not going to be a perfect balance, but it's a give and take.
Exactly. When I come back in my next life, I want to be your daughter for sure, because I can see how much fun you guys have on the weekends. Okay.
She had Yeehaw Day today, so she's in a full. I'll send you a picture after.
She seems like a character.
She's a character. She keeps us on our toes in the best way.
And I'm just going to round third with another personal question that you can cut if you don't want me to ask. But I was lucky enough to get to witness you getting married. And I think your partner selection was on point because, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you have a real partnership. Can you talk about what makes it work, knowing that career and family are two important parts of your life.
Yeah. And I would say like those things that are important to me are equally as important to my husband. And so I don't know if the pandemic was fortunate enough. It was fortunate for anybody. But the one thing that I would say our silver lining coming out of that is it regrounded like travel. My husband was in the consulting world and he did a complete life 180 that allows him more flexibility. He runs a daily podcast, writes a daily newsletter, and like to be able to find that balance that we have has been really great where he's feeling fulfilled in his professional world. I'm feeling fulfilled. That's a mouthful in my professional world, while also still finding time for how we balance our calendar because even now in this position, I work from home. I can't go do pickup. I'm on calls most of the day, but the way that his schedule, he's up at 5 a.m. And so by 2:30, he can go get the kids. And we've created this like balance that I feel very fortunate about. And we've been able to really balance both of our careers while also our kids, which is something that I was worried about. Would we be able to do it? And like, you don't think about this like at the time when you have kids, but then you have
No, you
these,
got
and
lucky
you're
that
like,
you guys,
yeah, and I'm
right?
like, how is this going to work? And so I feel very fortunate for that. But it's like I have friends that have nannies that it's like everybody, you can make it work. It's just a matter of what works for your schedule and life. And that's how we've been able to make it work. But I would say I've always felt so supported from him and what I wanted to do, the travel that it would sometimes require, which was it's really great to have a supportive partner in that sense.
I think it's mandatory.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it with one hand behind their back. I think it takes a village. And
It takes a
the most
village.
important part of your village is your partner, if you're lucky enough to have one. So,
And I still have to text friends sometimes of, hey, we're doing this and this. Can you pick up this one? We'll get them. It's like, and I think that's true for everybody. Like to your point, it takes a village, no matter if you're working full-time, part-time, not at all. Everybody needs help in this crazy thing called life. And you do that by great people that you surround yourself with.
need it. Okay, final question. And I ask everyone moving forward this question. What's something you're still beta testing in your own life or your career?
I feel like my kids are getting to this point of life where, not that it's easier, but I'm trying to get back to like giving back to the community. Like things that I just haven't had time for is something that I think has weighed on me, not because I don't care about it, but when there's only so many hours in a day, you're being pulled in so many different directions. It's hard to find incremental things that you want to get involved in, knowing that they take time. And you're looking, I was finding myself looking at it as like, I can't do that. I have X, Y, and Z that I have to do. And so I would say my answer to that is being more intentional about saying yes.
Oh,
Because I got to a place where, and again, going back to probably being too much of a perfectionist was, I can't go to dinner. I have a presentation in the morning, or I have to do X. I have to finish X, Y, and Z. And so I really tried to focus 2026 on like, this is my year of yes. I want to do things in my community more. My kids are young and starting school, and I feel like it's a great time to start to build a new foundation of how I show up in ways outside of just my work and mom, but also as a friend, as a daughter, as a sister. I'm an aunt, and really try to make time for a lot of things that I'm passionate and care about that, when you're busy, it can be really easy to say no. And then I think when I started doing that so much, I felt really empty. I got to find ways to fill the tank of, and obviously my kids, my family are a huge part of that. But there's things that round me out that I want to get back to doing more of. And that's always a work in progress or something that I would say I'm beta testing.
The good news is I think now's a great time given where your kids are at. It makes space for Katy.
Yeah. So
Katy Friday, I love you. Thank you for being on my podcast.
thank you for having me.
I value your perspective so much. I'm so emotional watching your evolution. And it's like crazy. In 90 years, we're still going to be emotional talking about the past. Thank you for everything. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Katy.